Hi, it's me. This is take two. Um, you'll probably notice that I'm doing something a little bit different. I am filming on my laptop versus my phone. Um, so that's that. I have filmed a couple different updates and for whatever reason never got them updated, never got them posted. Mostly because I went off on tangents or shared information that I realized after I filmed it was like, yeah, no, that's too much information. Um, I do have a habit of sharing too much, and I'm sorry. So this video blog has always kind of been about my weight loss journey and the effect it's had on my body and my mind. So this video blog is gonna kind of morph into my quest to get the weight off, and blog um, my nano update blog and my this is my mental health state today blog. It is middle of October 2019, and this is the year that has gone down in infamy as the worst year of my life. I mean, I've had a lot of bad years in the past, but there were always just incidents, and the whole year didn't suck. Just there were specific incidents. This year, it has been one full year of suck, with the exceptional bright spot, with the occasional bright spot. So I think I posted several times in Hawaii, and I think I posted a few times after, but I'm going to start back there because I really think that's where the world of me began to spiral out of control and go into a fatal nosedive. So Lee and I went to Hawaii, and it was a magical place. I did amazing things. I saw beautiful things, met amazing people, but at the end of the day, it was more like I was on a trip with my with a friend, not even a best friend, but a friend. Um, and when we came back, the night before we came back, I ended up sick. I flew home with what would turn into bronchitis and walking pneumonia at the same time because they affect different parts of the lungs. So after being sent to urgent care that Monday, I was off another week without pay. So I came back to work, and what I thought was because of work was actually because of home, but I wouldn't realize that until later. Um, so I took what ended up being a 3 week stress leave. I was having head to toe extreme body pain. I was having extreme intestinal issues, extreme fatigue. Um, I just, I was not well. So during that 3 weeks, I was poked, prodded, tested for just about everything. And I had a series of at home stool tests, which I have to tell you, if you've never done one, it's utterly traumatizing. I had more vials of blood taken than I thought possible. At the end of the day, they told me that I just had severe IBS and they gave me a medication for intestinal cramping, which, by the way, is the best thing. Um, you don't realize that that's the problem until you take that medication and suddenly the cramping stops and the constant running to the bathroom stops. It's amazing. So, just so you know, if you have IBS and you don't have an antispasmodic, I recommend you get one. Um, I can only take it once every 4 hours, and I'm not supposed to take it all the time. So I only have it when it gets really bad. But there are times when I just can't handle it. And anyway, so but all the blood testing came back with a positive ANA, which is what they start to test with to look for autoimmune disorders. So they were afraid that maybe I had lupus or maybe I had some other autoimmune disorder. Sorry, my dog was scratching. Um, so we ended up seeing a rheumatologist, but it was much later out. Um, and I went back to work, and nothing had changed. Not a thing. I was still miserable. I was still angry. I was still grumpy all the time. I still felt like crap all the time. Um, and then in January, well, late December, I decided I didn't want to deal with my hormonal issues anymore either. I was having severe hormone issues as well, so I would have periods that lasted 60 days or more without a break. And I just couldn't do it anymore. So we decided that since we tried everything else, we were going to go ahead and go ahead and do a hysterectomy. So as we were prepping up for that, I found a kitten in a dumpster, and we ended up keeping him. This was the second kitten we'd found at work. The first one we rehabbed and adopted out. This one we kept. His name is Oscar. And so he got me through the first few days of my recovery after my hysterectomy, because it was in the middle of January. Well, after the worst of the recovery period, which was like only a couple of days, was over, I decided I was going to go see my best friend Ruth up in Oregon. And Lee didn't want to come with me, so I ended up and I kind of wanted to go by myself anyway, so I took the train up. It was great. But my train back was delayed. So I didn't end up I was supposed to get home on Valentine's Day. I did not get home until the day after. And a klaxon alarm should have gone off in my brain, because at that point, Sookie, hush. At that point, neither one of us were really that worried about missing Valentine's Day, so I really should have noticed. Meanwhile, I'm, coming home and I'm still recovering, and I go back to work, and I'm back to work for 3 days, and I end up with pink eye. And now in all pharmacies all over the world, all over my area, they were back ordered on the pink eye medicine. So I was out for a whole week without pay for that as well. So then I ended up going back. What, Sookie? Wait a minute. So then I ended up going back to work, and I was back for a week, and I got the flu when I still had a flu shot. I'd already had a flu shot, and I got sick with the flu. I tried everything in my power to keep my mom from getting it, but at the end of the day, I failed, and she got it. So we took her to the hospital, and what ended up being a 5-day stint that she didn't wake up from right. They gave her Ativan, and she was out for a 3-day Ativan-induced coma. And when she woke up, she wasn't right. I got her home, and even though I argued with them that I couldn't take her home, they made me anyway. And the first day she was home, the kids had to go on, they had plans. And Lee couldn't stay with her. So I had my friend Phil volunteered to come down and stay. So thank you, Phil. He sat with her the whole day so I could go to work. By Friday of that week, I knew something was going on. So I was trying to find her nursing home placement, because I knew I just couldn't do it. And I was at the nursing home where my uncle is, talking to him and the admission coordinator, when my phone rang, and it was Kay, and my mom had basically tried to pick up the walker and wing it at her head. So they called 911, and that led to a month full of trying to figure out what the hell was wrong with her. So we ultimately discovered that it was dementia, which means that now I have to be aware of the fact that it took my grandma, it took my mom, and now I'm pretty sure it's going to come after me. So I'm already deciding this is what I'm going to do in the future to make sure that everything what I need to have happen is done, so that I can, I'm not a burden to anybody. But ultimately, I knew I couldn't bring her home, so I ended up finding her placement at a assisted living facility in Salida, but it was really expensive. During this time, my pain level returned back to the way it was. So I went back to see Dr. Tilley, and finally was told I had fibromyalgia, which was likely due to all the stress this year, which just triggered it. And so every time I have more stress, I have a flare up, which is why I'm home today. So anyway, got mom situated at the assisted living facility. And I needed to make sure that her behaviors calmed down so we could get her checked and evaluated and eventually over to the nursing home. We finally got her off Kaiser, finally got her with Medi-Cal, so there's that. And then, now I have fibromyalgia. Well, in about May, I decided, I realized I was so unhappy and I was miserable, and I just couldn't. So I sat Lee down and I told him, and he agreed, and that we both wanted to work on it. Well, it was too little too late, and about a month and a half, or about, I don't know, 3 weeks or so after our 7-year anniversary, we broke up. I don't want to go into too many details. I don't want to go into he said, she said, but the end result is that the relationship that I thought would last my entire life ended. The first month I was angry. The second month afterwards, I did nothing but cry. But the benefit is I wasn't alone. In that year, in between October whatever and now, I'd lost a best friend in July due to a fallout between the said best friend and Lee. I One of my other friends, long-term friends I've known since I was 19 years old, decided to go radio silence and then just drop off the face of the planet and hasn't responded to anything, anybody, no matter what the deal is. So throughout all of this year that I've had this terrible, terrible series of events, I've not been able to contact my friend. So that tells me a lot, yeah. So then now I've lost one of my best friends and the love of my life. So, but the upside to that breakup was that I stopped binge eating. So I lost 13 pounds right after that, right after the breakup. And I was able to get back in contact with that friend that I'd lost back in July of last year. And there was always something there, and I knew it. And so we ended up together, and we ended up being together for 2 months. He moved in here after Lee moved out, along with two other roommates, for reasons that are entirely our own and that no one needs to know. He moved out on Friday. And I am just as devastated as I was when my 7-year relationship ended, because I loved him almost as much as I loved Lee, if not a little more. And for the first time in almost 2 decades, I am completely and utterly alone. And I know I have friends, but that's not what I'm talking about. My depression has continued to spiral. After everything that happened this year, every new incident just chipped me off a little bit more. And I think this was finally the end. I am numb. I am leaving the building, so to speak. I used to do this a lot with my ex-husband. I would get upset, and then rather than have this huge emotional breakdown, I would just turn off. I think that's where I'm at now. Anyway, I'm home today because of fibromyalgia pain. Stress sucks. I have an appointment tomorrow with my surgeon to discuss revision for my DS. I have the Loop DS, and if I revise it, it's going to go into the standard DS. So that's just going to increase my IBS pretty much. So I would, just be aware of that. Anyway, I am gonna sign off now. My dog apparently needs to go outside, so I will talk to you all later. Bye.